Hey guys, John back with another reaction to Geography Now Indonesia. That first part was super cool. It's just like so vague, just kind of showing you a little bit here and there. So I want to learn more, so I'll be looking for other videos. So let me know if you know of any good ones that you want me to see. I'd appreciate it. As always, thanks for the comments and the subscriptions. Together, guys, with Indonesian Power, we're going to build this channel, our channel. We're going to build it into something special together. We're going to get Indonesian music out there and music from around the world. Hit the subscribe button for me if you would. The more people we have, the more people we reach. All right, I want to get back into this. So away we go. So again, this is part 2. Indonesia demographics. Just looking at the screenshot here.
Now, there's a lot of curious mysteries when it comes to Indonesia's people. Like, how did they become predominantly Muslim? Or what's the whole deal with them in Malaysia? Or wait, this guy is considered an Indonesian? What? First of all, the country has about 263 million people, making it the 4th most populous country in the world, with the largest population of Muslims as well. Now, here's the thing. In a sense, yes, 95% of the population is considered native Indonesian. But that's an incredibly broad term, considering that Indonesia has about 300 different ethno-linguistic groups split up across all the island regions of the country. If you look at a map with the actual ethnic group breakdown, it kind of looks something like this. Nonetheless, the 2 largest parent ethnic groups are the Javanese, that make up about 40%, the Sundanese, that make up about 15%. Otherwise, the rest of the population is primarily made up of smaller groups and tribes that have only around 2 to 3% each, like the Batak, the Sulawesi, the Balinese, Minangkabau, Betawi, Papuan, Dayak, and so on. Finally, about 5% are non-indigenous Indonesians, like Chinese, Arabs, Indians, and even a few Europeans. They also use the Indonesian Rupiah as their currency, they use the Type-C plug outlet, and they drive on the left side of the road. And here's where things get...
Well, our outlet is completely different than that. Our outlet just has like 2 prongs that are like kind of sort of square at the end. Definitely different. But super cool to know this stuff. If ever I go there, it's kind of cool to have a little bit of background information. Don't bring this plug or get the adapter for my plug to go to your electricity. This is super cool.
Get a little confusing. Culture and language. The one thing that kind of unites all Indonesians is that they share the national language Bahasa Indonesia, which means the Indonesian
Bahasa Indonesia
language. However, Bahasa Indonesia is actually kind of like a lingua franca to many of the people, as Indonesia is the world's largest trilingual country. In addition to Bahasa Indonesia, most people speak their own mother tongue as well as English. Yep, English. They caught on quick when they realized it was the money language. The funny thing is, even though the Javanese...
Well, that's kind of insulting. I don't particularly like what he said there. I don't buy that, but it's incredible that the Muslim population is so huge there. I would have always thought the Middle East would have been more Muslims. And again, I've said it before, guys. I'll say it again. Tired of the bad rap Muslim people get. Muslim people are awesome. Everybody out there, open your eyes. If you're not Muslim, these people are beautiful. They've left me certainly the nicest, most caring, touching comments of any comments that I've ever had on this channel. And it's a constant stream of well wishes and good health and, just an incredible people. Don't judge a book by its cover. We all have bad people in our countries. And plenty of them here in the United States, starting with our politicians. But plenty of bad people here too. Everybody has bad people in their country, in their religious groups. Just don't judge a book by its cover, guys, please. we're all in this together, and we're brothers and sisters. Um, and that's the way it should be. And we should treat each other that way, with love, with respect, with dignity and honor. That's the way it's supposed to be, guys. So go out and make somebody smile today. Make somebody laugh. Make somebody feel good. Compliment that person and tell them, wow, you look beautiful today, or you look handsome today, or tell somebody you did a good job, just something to really make somebody feel good, because we all have a high value worth, you know what I mean? We're all valuable people. We all mean something, and the thing is, we've got to mean something to each other. We can't just sit here and this group hates Muslims, that group hates Catholics, this group hates Hindu. It's just ignorance is what causes all this. So watch some YouTube videos. Ask people if you see them about their, if you see a Muslim somewhere, ask them, about their religion. Inquire, ask them, tell me about your religion, tell me about your country, just the way it should be. Well, it's in my opinion.
Make up the largest people group, the Javanese language is not an official language. Technically, it could have been, but then that would have favored one people group over all the others, which would have caused tension, so they kind of had to choose like a neutral default. Plus, Javanese is like really hard to learn, and the original writing system, although very beautiful, is incredibly difficult to write. Nonetheless, at nearly 100 million speakers, this makes Javanese the largest non-official minority language in the world. And that's why the Bahasa Indonesia language is so strange. It's not even technically indigenous to Indonesia, but more Malay-derived. To this day, people who speak Bahasa Indonesia can understand somewhere around 60 to 70% of what their neighbors are saying in Malaysia. The biggest difference, though, would be the loan words, as Indonesia took quite a bit of influence from the Dutch back in colonial times. For example, kantor versus kantor, doctor versus dokter, mantel, mantel, oma, opa, wortel, wortel. Speaking of the Dutch, quick history lesson. Hindu kingdoms, Buddhist kingdoms, Islamic kingdoms, the Portuguese come in quickly, but then the Dutch flock in, Japan comes in for a couple of years and decimates a huge chunk of the population, independence, republic, the Suharto years, controversial
I am so glad that Japan is no longer how they used to be. Such great people in Japan. Incredible history. But I'm so glad now that they're not how they used to be, trying to take over things, after World War II. That changed. We don't need wars. We don't need countries to try to take over other countries. It's just crazy that the stupid things that humans fight over. And it all boils down to money and power and resources. I guess I just believe differently. I believe in the way things should be. I hate seeing wars. I hate seeing the war in Ukraine because, Russia is doing a special operation. And, in this day and age, my friends, still just controlling their people. I really hate that. I mean, we should all be free across the world to make our own decisions, without government, controlling everything. I hate that so much.
Incidents and fights with ethnic Chinese, Timorese, and Papuan peoples, Suharto falls, Reformation period begins, and here we are today. In Indonesia, all citizens are required to register under one of 6 recognized religion categories: Islam, Protestant, Catholic, Hindu, Buddhist, and Confucianism. If you don't identify with either, then sorry. Prior to Islam entering around the 13th century, Indonesia was actually primarily Hindu and Buddhist. It's disputed on how exactly Indonesia...
Are you guys still required to register like that? I didn't know that, so it's interesting.
Indonesia became prevalently Muslim. Some people will say that it's because of the Arab traders that came by in the early first millennium. Others will say that maybe it had to do with the Malacca Sultanate conquest that fought against the Hindu and Buddhist kingdoms. And the truth is, both might be right. Inevitably, Bali became like the last sort of haven for whatever Hindus were left. The eastern Nusa Tenggara region and the Papuas remained predominantly Christian as the Dutch and Portuguese shared the gospel. Islamic culture in Indonesia is a little different from what it looks like in the Middle East. For one, most mosques don't have the
I thought it was interesting one time, talking about the Christian Bible, how a group of missionaries went to like an Arctic village. I can't remember if it was in Canada or Alaska or somewhere in that region, and to spread the gospel, of Jesus Christ. And when all was said and done, the chief asked, if you hadn't come here and told us what a sin, a sin was, we wouldn't have sinned, because we wouldn't have known it was a sin. So, I know a lot of times Christians really can be a bit too much to really push religion. And I'm not saying all of them. In fact, the vast majority are not like that. But, you can't push religion down somebody's throat either. You know what I mean? It's great to talk about it, but it's not something I would ever do. I respect every religion, so, I'm not that way.
Typical dome structure, and actually many of them resemble Hindu temples, like the Demak Great Mosque. When a family member dies, their relatives might often come together and pray for a whole week, and then again on the 40th day, and then on the year anniversary, and then on the 500th day, and so on. Also, the night before Eid al-Fitr, the youth might gather and go around neighborhoods reciting the takbir. Those are some things you don't really typically find in the Middle East. Clothing modesty customs are pretty loose. Not all Muslim women wear hijabs, however, the ones that do might also complement it with Western clothing, like branded t-shirts with skin-tight sleeves and jeans. When I was in Indonesia, I saw a hijab-wearing woman with short sleeves and capri pants exposing her calves. I was like, can they do that? Now, in terms of culture, again, it depends on where you are, and many indigenous peoples still follow ancient traditions. Everything from the Minangkabau candle dance to the gamelan players of Yogyakarta, Wayang Javanese shadow puppetry, Balinese festivals, Sumatran pencak silat martial art tournaments, Kenya motif paintings of the Kalimantan tribes, the deadly Pasola game played by Sumba peoples, Karabeng cow racing on Madura Island, the strange burial traditions of the Toraja people, and everywhere you can find those pointy longhouses. Otherwise, some notable people of Indonesian descent might include people like the first president Sukarno, Gada Maja, R.A. Kartini, B.J. Habibie, Iko Uwais, Yayan Ruhian, Sesep Arif Rahman, Agnes Monica, Iwan Fals, Anggun, Megawati Sukarno Putri, the Hartono brothers, and YouTubers Brian Emanuel and Raditya Dika. Now, it's so hard to cover Indonesia's culture because there's so many different people groups, each with their own cultures. It's insanely colorful and rich. I wish we could cover more, but we gotta move on to some diplomatics, shall we? Okay, so Indonesia is basically like the kingpin of Southeast Asia with the largest population and economy, as well as being a member of the G20. Therefore, they know how to manage relations. First of all, the rest of the Muslim nations in the Middle East generally get along with Indonesia as they see them as kind of like their strange Asian cousins. Indonesians make up the largest group of pilgrims for the Hajj in Mecca. However, there has been some controversy with Saudi Arabia in regards to migrant worker abuse and death sentences. Since then, Indonesia dramatically decreased its expat programs. The US, the Netherlands, and Australia are kind of like their biggest non-Asian supporters. In addition to trade and business, the U.S. played a huge role in Indonesia's independence, and they work closely.
Well, I'm glad we're friends, Indonesia. And if ever you need us, I hope we're there for you.
During Cold War times. The Netherlands still holds close ties to Indonesia despite post-colonial bitterness. Plus, tons of Indonesians live in the Netherlands. To this day, they have the second largest population of Indonesians outside.
Looking at that red part up in the United States, it's looks like it's down somewhere towards New York, maybe.
outside of Indonesia after Malaysia at nearly 2 million. Australia gives some of the most aid to Indonesia, especially after catastrophe incidents. And even though there are some controversies involving immigration and attacks on Australians abroad, they still share close ties generally. Now, Indonesia and Malaysia are kind of like the Colombia and Venezuela of Southeast Asia. They're like the twins separated at birth and have a strange love-hate relationship. Malays accuse Indonesians of stealing their culture and language. Indonesians accuse them of not being grateful for all their help during war times. But when they actually meet up as people, it's like they're totally brothers. Nonetheless, most Indonesians I talk to have said Japan is probably their best friend, which is funny because Japan kind of really messed things up during World War II. Nonetheless, they've moved on, and today Japan
See, that's what I was talking about, guys. World War II, thank God that's all over with. But it's great to have an ally like Japan for sure. Incredible country. Incredible people there. Incredible technology. I was always a guy to ride motorcycles. It was always Japanese motorcycles. I never liked American motorcycles. They always fell apart. I was into the sport bike types, the Ninjas, GPZs, Hurricanes, you know, all that type of stuff.
Makes up the largest export partner. Tourists flock in year-round, and the two have been building each other up for over half a century. In conclusion, Indonesia's people are very much like their islands, numerous with lush, colorful, strange diversity. Sometimes a cyclone, earthquake, or volcano of controversy erupts, but at the end of the day, they still flourish together as one. Stay tuned, Iran is coming up next.
Very cool. Some very interesting information there. Again, I didn't know that the largest Muslim population was in Indonesia. That's pretty cool. So guys, let me know some other stuff you want me to learn about. You know, I just feel like learning so much about your music, it's right for me to learn more about you and your country. And I look forward to it. So, all right, guys, from Icy Cold, Maine, I gotta grow my beard back. I don't like it without a beard. Beard or no beard, guys. All right, so I'll catch you in the next one.